Hey everybody, Scoutcrafter here again. I got a quick story for you. The other day I'm at Lowe's, and I enjoy their tool section. They really have a neat and well organized tool section. So I always go in there whenever I go to Lowe's and check it out. And as I'm walking by one of the aisles, I see this screwdriver combo, and without even questioning it, I pick it up right into the cart. You know, and my girlfriend goes, "You gonna get those?" I said, "Oh yeah." And the reason is, these things just hit me like no other screwdriver set. It's only a two-piece set, but then I came home and I'm looking at my the people I subscribe to on YouTube, and I see one of my buddies, James, Midwest Tool Review. James had bought the same exact set, probably at the same exact time, and he was saying, "Yeah, I don't know why, I just liked them," and I was like, "I know why." And I'll tell you why. Growing up, when I grew up, we had no shortage of good role models to follow. You know, I mean, even if they were science fiction, there was James Kirk, there was James Bond, there was all kinds of role models. Evel Knievel, and that's what that's what hit me this one. When I saw these screwdrivers, I had an Evel Knievel flash. Now, these are the screwdrivers that I was talking about, and well, when I was growing up in the mid-70s, you know, there was a stunt motorcycle rider called Evel Knievel. If you haven't heard of him, you've probably been in a cave somewhere for the last 50 years, or maybe if you're very young, but he was it. He was the guy back then, and he used to wear the red, white, and blue, the colors, and this, oh, look at that. Look at this. And this just looks exactly, I don't know, as soon as I saw this, it was like, it just reminded me of those days. And I said, and then once I put my hand around it, oh, it's just beautiful. I mean, this is not like that cheap rubber coating that when you feel it, you feel like it's something's left on your hand. This is, this is like a polyurethane inside, and just a nice color combination. Has the striking caps on the back. James has the full set, but a little bit smaller versions, and don't have the striking caps, but they do have what is the size of the blade on the back of his. So that's another nice set. But it's a Lenox makes. I like Lenox products, even though they are made in China. And like James was saying, I always laugh about it. Says, you know, it says unconditionally warranted. You know, which, you know, don't mean anything, because the price to send it back will cost you more than the screwdriver's worth. This set of 2 was $9. He got his whole set of, I think, 5 or something for $9. So they're not expensive, but really interesting screwdriver. Evel Knievel days. It's great. Anyway, I just wanted to show them to you. Really happy with it. Okay, next up, I'm down the basement. You know, I'm cleaning up. I'm coming across stuff, and there's something here I want to show you that I use all the time, but you don't ever see it because it's covered up. And let me show you what you're looking at here is the first table saw I ever had. I built this, I guess, about 35 years ago, and you know, I had no money was tight. It always is tight, but I built my own table saw. And what I did, I basically framed this up, and you can see it's on wheels, and I made these little, you know, handles that I could lift it up and move it out of the way, you know, roll it around the shop. The shop was a little bit less cluttered back then. Has wheels in the back, no wheels up front, so it's stable. And that was the top. And let me show you what the saw was. This is the saw that powered it, and it was an old Black & Decker 1 1/4 horse. And what a great saw this was. Now, this table saw, I know it's going to look goofy, but let me show you. I'm going to put it together. It hasn't been together in years because the saw is back in the container it came in down there. And I'm going to put it together because I want to show you the bottom of the circular saw, and it has 2 holes here that came with the saw. And I drilled 2 holes in this bench, and I cut out here. And the reason that this cut goes a little oblong is so that the blade could tilt when I wanted to do angle cuts. And I'm going to adjust the height on my primitive table saw. I would you see it's bolted in. I would have to go under here and raise it to whatever height I wanted, and then tighten the wing nut, which is located on the base plate of the circular saw. So I could have it up to about, it would easily cut through a 2x4. I know this might sound kind of goofy, but I haven't used this table saw in, like I said, about 30 years. It brings back a lot of memories. I made thousands of projects with this thing, and here I have that blade about medium height. That's why I used to kind of leave it. And down here, I made a little switch plate, and this switch controls this outlet. And I would put a zip tie around the trigger of the table saw, so when I wanted to use it, I would just flip the switch. And that's basically how it would work. Let me show you cutting something. This was really nicely varnished when I first did it, but again, I've used it for hundreds of projects since then. So let me show you what it looks like working. Now, this is a really enjoyable saw to use, but a lot of times what I do is just take a speed square, mark down a pencil line, and I would freehand cut what I was cutting. One thing to note is, first of all, it's going to be a loud saw because it's a brush motor, but secondly, I use a carbide blade. There you could see me just checking to make sure I had the blade up high enough to get through this. This is 7-ply birch 3/4 inch plywood. And look at the beautiful cut from that carbide blade on here. And that's an old blade. It's just absolutely pristine cut on that. Now here was an interesting part. This had no fence, you know, there was no fence, so I got a piece of, this is special angle iron. It's completely 90 degree on this side. There's no slag or anything on this side. So this goes like this, and then I would clamp it down on each end. But what I would do is I would take a straight edge and I would place it against the blade. Okay, and I take a straight edge, place it against the blade, and I would measure here like this, measure up against here and against here. So this way there was no chance that my cuts would come out cocked, and I got some very accurate cuts. It took a while, but it's still a super accurate way to do it. Place the straight edge against the blade, measure from here to here and here to here at the edges, and then clamp this down, double check it. And if I wanted a cut, I can get a perfectly accurate cut. So what I would have to do every time I cut something is I would have to line up the straight edge against the blade here, and then I would measure, and you can see over here, that's exactly 4 inches to the edge of the straight edge. Down here, same thing, 4 inches to the edge of the straight edge, plus the kerf of the blade, let's say it's an 8. So that would give me a 3 7/8 inch cut. And then I would clamp it down, you know, clamp the edges down. And I always got straight cuts. And you learn, what's great about when you have something like this is you learn about kerfs, you learn about angles, you learn about kickback and everything, because this is unforgiving and it's not super strong, so it's not going to make up for mistakes that you would make. Now you can see we just made that cut, and here it is. It's 3 7/8. So this is a you know, it was a great saw, and really enjoyed using it for that many years. Two other great features about this saw: that when it was finished, when you were done, you just lower the blade, you had it back to a workbench. It's 3 foot this way by 4 foot that way, and you could lift the top off very easily. The top comes right off, and I could bring it, which I did upstairs to make my furniture, and put it on 2 sawhorses. So I could take the whole top, bring it upstairs, put it on 2 sawhorses, and have a table saw up there. It was really ahead of its time back then. So until I got my new table saw, and then this went into retirement. And for today's restoration, I have some tools that I really enjoy doing, but nothing beats restoring punches for me. I just love it, and I happen to have these here, and I wanted to clean them up, get them fixed up, and take a look at the condition. You can see we got some rusting, and you know, which is normal. Some of the heads need touching up, but it's a quick restoration. Let's get to it. Here we are at our post-wire brush evaluation. You can see you got to spend a lot of time on the wire brush, especially with the knurling, because of when you're going against addressing the brush with the knurling, you see a knurling is almost like a triangle. One line goes this way, one line goes this way, and that's just the way you have to address the brush. So you have to do it like twice for each one, but this way it gets all the rust and everything out from in there. As you can see, some of these, you know, here's an old Miller's Fall, and you can see this is a 2/32 punch. Nice stamping on there. What a shame, though. Look at this. This is, I guess, towards the end of Miller's Fall's career, you know, as a manufacturer. They started doing this, you know, a poor stamping of, I guess, a paint stamp or whatever. And it's, what a shame, right, to see it go from what it used to be to this. And then I guess that's when, right after that, it goes out of business. And We have some other punches here. Now we're going to take it to the, first we're going to look at the tips. Now if you look at the tips here, we have some issues with some of the tips. Like this one here was a regrind. Somebody might have needed it for a special job and did it down to a real pin punch. But, you know, that's a really fine punch. I'm going to regrind some of these, you know, and we're going to look at some of the other ones. Here's another one that was a regrind. You know, people need it for a specific job and they'll grind it down. Well, we're going to fix these, put them back to a punch that that I tend to use more. So let's get to the, first we'll use the... Here we are at the bench grinder. Very important to remember here, you have a coarse wheel. This is a fine wheel on this side. When we're going to be using this, anytime you address the punch to here, you have to have some water here and constantly keep dipping it in the water because you don't want to change the temper on the tool. That's the hardness. And so it's always important, as soon as you start to feel it get a little bit warm, right into the grind. That's why I don't wear gloves. I want to make sure if there's any heat transferred, I feel it. So let's get to that. And we're calling this project finished. And you can see we reground the tips. You can see the tips that were damaged before. We reground them, and all the tops that had mushroomed heads here, finished off the tops really nicely. So, and you know, took off any rust or anything, polished it out. You could see all the letters we were able to keep. Everything looks good. And I'll tell you, punches are one of those things that will challenge you and also will increase your skill level, because they aren't as easy as they would look. You would think, you know, a punch 1, 2, 3, but to take it to the next level, you could really increase your skill level because of the grinding skills and things like that you'd need. This is a Starrett, an older Starrett, and you can see here, nice model. And I prefer, my favorite punches of all these is the hollow tip punches, because, you know, they don't pop off a nail or something if you're trying to set. And this one here is a Miller's Falls 805, and really we're able to get everything back to it. Now, the one thing you got to remember is when you start to grind down the edges, it creates a sharp edge here, so you have to bevel all the sides to make it look NOS. And always enjoyable. Punches are always fun. So hope you enjoyed this, and now, as you know, I keep my punches in this plastic container, so I put them in and I arrange them. But I'm getting ready for another one because it's getting a little bit too full. But it's a good way to keep your punches, keep them clean. Once they're dressed and make sure all the heads are good and everything, you put them in here and they're good to go. One good thing you have to have, if you don't have one already, is you have to have a brass hammer. And the reason is because I got this off Amazon a while ago, and this Tekton is a really nice hammer. It's just a good weight. And the reason is that you won't mushroom your heads when you use a brass hammer, because, you know, the brass gives before the steel does. So if you want to keep your punches nice, get yourself a nice brass hammer, keep it with your punch set. And so in closing, I guess the theme of tonight's video is that you don't need a big shop or fancy equipment to get nice results. You just need a little bit of time and elbow grease. So thanks very much for tuning in. I hope you have a nice day. Take care. Bye-bye.